Plan for today: fit this gate Nano active brake in Spectre Arms Corsair 5. Let's get into it. Long Phillips head screwdriver just to remove the stock screw. Get an Allen key screwdriver just to remove the spring. It's a quick change spring, so no need for taking the gearbox out to change that. Allen wrench to remove the pin for the upper. Pins out, just remove the upper, pull back on the charging handle a bit because these have a lip, and then it should just pop off. Next step, Phillips head screwdriver, just remove your motor plate screws. Something there, just pop off the wires and pull your motor's out. Phillips head screwdriver, take out the screws holding on your pistol grip. Small screwdriver, take off your mag catch. Your back pin here, just push that through and just release it from the other side. Body pin there, just push that through. And pull it out from there. Can be a bit stiff. All them stages done, just pull the gearbox. Gearbox out. Next stage, just all your screws. Take them out. You don't have to worry about the spring now because it can't fly out because it's already out. But just kind of push down on your bearings and stuff just to loosen them off and lift your gearbox shell. Right, the inside of the gearbox. What we'll be removing is the trigger block and all the wires, and then replacing it with the other trigger block and the other wires. Now you can see just here it's chewed up where the motor has caught the wire. It's not good. Right, first thing, just remove this gear out of the way. Make sure any shims go with it in the right place. Remove your other bits there. Suggest just pop this spring, flathead screwdriver underneath, and just pop that spring. Then you can remove all this. Don't forget your spring. Keep them all together. Then the rest of your gears, just making sure all shims stay with it. You can see it's a shim in here. Pop back on the gear. Check for any more, check the other side of the gearbox. The shims there too. Check if there's any more. No, that's all shims. Next stage, pop your spring here. Don't lose the spring because you will need it for your other trigger block. Next stage, you can just pop the trigger out. Small screwdriver. check the whole thing out. Don't lose the black screw that's in there, you'll need that too to put back in. That's basically it. All you do is put your other block back in, which I'll do now in a second. Okay, new block and wires. I'm just going to push this in. It's in. Next screw, you took out the other block, your spring, and your trigger will go in. So what I've done is I've ran the signal wires down and up this way through this notch here, filed out this notch so the signal wires ain't going to get bunched up with this wire here to make it higher, so it's getting caught by the motor. So I separated both wires, put the gear in just to check if there's any interference. There is none, and all seems to be flat enough, so that's the way I've ran it. Also just in here filed out a little bit so that wire can go further in, and now it's flat enough so the motor shouldn't catch it. Right, trigger board's in. Next bit, put the spring back on and then pop the trigger back in. Right, trigger board, wires, triggers in, springs on. Next, pop in your cylinder set. Now just check here, see that this is moving freely with your spring, that everything's right, and then pop this back out, put your gears in. Right, these two gears in, pop back in your cylinder, put your spring on. Right, spring it back on, just attach there, and just check everything's moving back and forth alright. Press, it's moving grand, make sure this is level in your groove. Slide back and forth, it's grand. Next is your other gear, and this dude, whether it'll stay in now. Now everything's set back in place. The next step, put your cover back on and make sure everything stays everywhere and right. Can be a bit tricky with this gear and that, and the wires, trying to keep them in place while you're putting the lid back on. Things do tend to shift around, but the spring you can put in last through the back of the gearbox, so that's one headache out of the way. The next stage, make sure gearbox is closing here at the back and stuff, because them wires could get in the way, because normally pins on the other side of the gearbox and stick on top of the wires and stops it from closing properly, but it's closed there, so just pop your screws back in. In this stage, just check everything's moving right. Right, pop your spring in if you want. Alright, next step for your Dean's connector, tin your wires. That's one. That's two. And same thing with your G-plug, just tin that too. And connect your wires, don't forget your heat shrink. And that's your plug done. Next, just pop everything back together. Pop your gearbox back in the shell. Push your body pin in. And then your next one for your back. And the opposite side round. Now that stage, now you can pop your motor grip back on. Next stage, drop your motor in. Make sure you get it sitting right, check it's springy. And you'll need to bend your connectors if you've done these again. And just fit your connectors. Alright, motor's in, and put the base plate back on. Next step, get your spring, pop it back in. Next step, connect the gate Nano to the wires. That's it connected. Now you can drop a battery on it and do a test fire to hopefully everything is all good and there's no problems. You could need to adjust the motor height a bit, maybe, don't know. I have 11-1 Titan battery, 2600 mAh connected to it, and fingers crossed, safe. Full auto. Job's a good one. Well guys, that's it. Just pop everything back together now. Don't forget your mag catch. Goes on the same way it came off. No biggie. Alright, thanks for watching. Take it easy. Right, here it is finished. I'll put back together. Battery connected. Semi. Full auto. Go play.